How are we doing today? Trying to see if there's any audio because the last few times that I've tried this, there hasn't been any audio. Hello? Okay, there's audio. If we're going to be cutting this today, feels like it's a little bit too dark in here. Let's see if that helps. Literally looks the same. Okay. Let's close in a little bit. I got a new microphone, so I'm hoping that guys are able to hear me. I don't know how loud it's going to pick up the cutting, but I'm going to be cutting a new material today. I think I didn't set the title correctly for the video. I did not. Let me change that real quick. I'm hoping this doesn't take long, but every time that I try out something new, it's unpredictable what will happen. So I've I think last year I started making decor. I can show you a little example. So something like this is what I usually make. Let me expand it out. So something like this. This is made out of copper. If you've been following me, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I work a lot in copper. But this material is a little bit more expensive. And it's a little bit hard to cut because I use hard copper for the decor because I want it to last. But the thing has been that a lot of people do like how the copper looks like, but other people don't. So what I decided to do is to try something different, and that's where this material comes from. So this is aluminum, and my whole thing that I want to do with this is I want to be able to put vinyl on top of it so I can get different types of decor. The main thing, I really didn't want to stray away from using copper because I really do like how copper looks like, but I understand that a lot of people don't. But it's a lot of people still love the craft that goes into me making a lot of my decor. So this is basically a happy medium of that. I'm still going to be cutting things myself. Um, but there's going to be a different finish on top of it. It's not just going to be the copper. Um, I might leave the aluminum be as well. I don't know. But it's also cheaper. So that means that this is going to come out being less expensive than if I were to make it out of copper. So let's try it out. Again, I don't know how I'm going to sound with this new microphone. Sounds better than the last microphone I had. But we're gonna start cutting all the in. I don't know actually. I don't know if I want to start with the outside. I would definitely not cut this first, but at least all of this so there's no sharp edges, and then cut the inside and this last. So I want this to take me an hour. But knowing me and knowing how things go, that's probably not gonna be it. But we're gonna try it out. I do have the noise canceling on, so hopefully that helps a little bit with the noise. But I really have no idea. We'll figure it out together. Okay, actually pretty low. That's kind of crazy. Hello, Iconic. Thank you so much. I like a very simple design on my nails because I can have them like this for a month and not worry about it. So this is aluminum. Aluminum tends to be a little bit more softer of a material. So it's extremely easy to cut. The dust, however, is a lot finer than copper. Hello, welcome everybody. Oh, and what I have on top is sticker paper that I decided to cut out with the Cricut. It's, I don't know. It's actually a little bit easier. I wouldn't be able to do any tiny designs with the Cricut, but since my whole thing is that I want to do a topper or a vinyl for the decor, then I just wanted to try it out. Because sometimes when you put things to the printer, they don't print the exact size that you want. So I wanted to cut it out with the Cricut just so I had the design already on file. And so far, so good. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the chat as I'm going. I'm actually really happy to see that this canceling of the next ultimate cutting video. Okay, I need to calm down a little bit. Going a little bit too fast. Something's happening. Oh, I'm getting stuck. I'm like, what's going on? Maybe. Oh, I don't really know how quickly aluminum heats up. There are some metals that the more you work with them, or the more heat that is applied, the harder they become. But it seems to be doing pretty well. Oops. There we go. This creates a lot of dust. But again, it's a lot finer than the copper. It's so interesting. It sounds like it weighs nothing. Hmm. This is I think medium hardened aluminum, not what I would prefer for decor. But if it's gonna be indoors, I think it's totally fine. So let's get this going. From what I've noticed, this dust does stick to everything. Okay. If this is your first time watching me, I like to start cutting on the left side with the left side facing me because I can see the design. This isn't too complicated. But it's just easier for me regardless because I can see the line. You can't see that, but because you're facing the other way. I'm also using my second finest, what do you call it, blade. It's a 300. Just because some of this design does have details that I would like to keep. And in terms of decor in general, I'm gonna actually just make a bunch of horses and maybe a third. Just because I've noticed that out of everything, the horse sells the best. So for my upcoming show, I'm just trying to make things that sell the best, and the horse is definitely one of them. Get lost. But you can see how much he does. I haven't seen. I mean, I know that Dr. Who produces stuff, but this is way more. I feel. Hello, welcome everybody. I am hand cutting aluminum today. And I do try to swipe it off with my hand. I mean, I can also use the brush, but it seems like, I don't know. There's so much dust in this, I don't want to blow at it because it does seem like it's much finer than what I usually use for copper. When I blow on the copper, they'll move. I am tempted to. Yeah, it's just. You can just see how much is piling up right there. Too much dust. I have a trash can underneath that I'm just gonna dump this into. But aluminum is so easy to cut. I'm really enjoying it. And this is thin, but also very strong and durable. Sorry if I go quiet. I tend to find this to be very meditating at times, so I really get lost while cutting. And this is also my first time cutting aluminum. And I can see how different it is. It's so lightweight. I don't know how to explain it. That's one side. Done. My hand is covered. I don't know if you can. This is the hand that I'm cutting that is underneath. This is, my goodness. This is also covered. All right. I'm gonna cut these details on the inside first before moving to some of the outside. Oops. I said I wasn't gonna blow on it, and I did, and it went all over the other side. The nice thing about metal dust is that it is a little bit heavy. And so it's gonna fall down, but it's still a little bit wild. But essentially what I am doing here is I am cutting out all of the parts that are metal. And then what I'm gonna be left with is all the white. And then I'll remove the sticker paper, and then I'll show you what the design actually looks like before aluminum. And then I'll make a decision if I'll keep it straight aluminum or if I want to cover it in vinyl. Because I'm still unsure. But I think I might be able to cut this in an hour. It's been a few minutes. Should be able to get it done in an hour though. This is looking like glitter on my hand. It's so funny. This is so much dust. But it makes sense. I'm using a blade that's for fine cutting. So the more teeth there is on the blade, the more dust you're going to get. Because the teeth are a lot smaller and there's just more teeth. But again, I would think that it would cut very similarly to the copper that I cut, but it doesn't. It's way more dust. And that's okay. If I can insert Hello. I am cutting aluminum. If you don't hear me speaking much, it's because I'm very into it. But I'm hand cutting it. And I'm currently cutting a horse. I don't really know how it looks. Okay. I'm trying to cut this in a very specific way just because of how it all is. Because I'm going to have to cut this section at some point, and I need to cut all the details first before doing that. Otherwise, if I go back and try and cut this, this spot might be too weak. And from what I've seen so far, even though the aluminum is durable, it's still bendable. But it's still very strong, which is good. Blowing on it slightly. I don't want to blow in it too much because otherwise the dust is going to go everywhere. As we did earlier. Honestly, I think that possibly teaching with the aluminum would be really nice. It's just easy to cut. And affordable. I believe a 12 by 12 sheet was $10 and some change. And again, I apologize if the noise of cutting is a little bit too loud. I got a new microphone. It's not as bad as it used to be. And this is not as loud as the one I cut copper. And again, I think it's just because this metal is a lot softer. See how that's really weak? I'm gonna try and go a little bit slower here because it is that weak. I can see it moving. I don't know if you can see it moving, but I don't really want it to move too much because I don't want it to bend. And this design is so much easier to cut when it's bigger. It's so much harder to cut it in a smaller version. Though it is much faster. But a lot of the time, when it comes to designs, I end up charging sometimes the same, even if a design is really small. Because cutting something that's small is extremely hard. But then cutting something that's big is easier, but it takes more time because you're covering more surface area. It's kind of interesting how it works. But so far, in terms of the aluminum, I've been loving how easy it drills and how easy it's cutting. I'm gonna be moving my saw here in a minute because I can feel my arm getting really hot. Well, that fell into the trash. I'll fish it out later. Now that's done. I wonder how my arm is gonna look after this, because oh my god, the amount of metal that's on my arm right now. Sorry. So now what I'm gonna do is cut all of this, and then I'm gonna finish off with this piece over here. Start from small to big. Hold on, let me put some. This is some lubricant for the blade. It helps cool it down and cut well again, because if it gets too hot, it starts rusting a little bit. And then it also starts losing its sharpness. So it's good to do it occasionally. I usually loop my blade once I feel my hand getting hot, which is, I don't really understand how it works. I always say that as soon as I put the lube on the blade, my hand gets cold as well, which is crazy to say because it shouldn't affect it in that way at all. But I can always feel my hand getting cooler after I loop the blade, which is essentially what lubricant does, is it cools down the blade so I can continue cutting. There we go. Hello, everybody who's just joining the stream. I'm cutting some aluminum. I'm currently working on an abstract horse. I'm gonna clean some of this dust because I can't see. I'm gonna move my blade again. Tap it a little bit. I felt it warming up again. I'm loving how easy it is to cut this material. It's so easy that I just want to cut it so quickly. But once I get closer to any type of edge, that's when I slow down a little bit. This blade is so strong that up there on my hand, it looks like I'm Tin Man. Um, it makes me want to work faster, seeing how easy it is to cut this material. Yeah, I'm going a bit slower here. Doesn't have to be super perfect, just enough. This is all going to be sold under my brand, Handmade Imperfection, and it's imperfection for a reason. I'm not a machine, you know? I'm cutting all of this stuff by hand, so it's not going to be perfect. And I messed this up somehow. I like cutting on the left side. I think I've said this before. I like cutting on the left side. But then this side is going to be vulnerable, but it's fine. It's not that big of a deal for this design. And when I'm doing this, again, if this is your first time ever watching any of my content or any ever seeing somebody metal cut, not everybody metal cuts the same way, but I attempt to move the piece more than I move my arm. It's just best for your posture and for your arm itself. So I attempt to move the piece with my left arm or left hand, and I am technically cutting straight, but because I'm moving the piece with my left hand, I am able to cut all of these curves. And there we go. There we go. So you have to hold this down because it's a little bit, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but I am going to be cutting a thin-ish line. So now I have to pay attention to where the line falls because I need support as I cut it. I don't want to bend it down as I'm cutting it. So I'm making sure that it is at least on top of my board here. And this is hot to the touch. I just realized because I'm working really quickly. There's nothing wrong with working quickly. There is a good way of cutting quickly and then there's a better way of cutting quickly. I think the only downside of cutting extremely quickly is that you wear out your blade a lot faster because you're putting a lot of pressure on it and it's hitting up along with the metal. And then I'm just gonna dust off my hand. Ugh. Because it just piles up, it sticks to you. Let me lube this up actually. I usually don't lube up this much unless I'm working on really big pieces. Because when I'm working on my really small pieces, I'm not cutting so much. I am, but I'm not. Like, I'm cutting really small sections. And so the blade gets to have a few seconds of rest in between each section when I change where or section per section. But this time I am cutting for a lot of time straight. And so the blade doesn't get as much rest, but it still feels healthy, which is good. So you just want to make sure to cool it, or I have to make sure to cool it when I feel like it's getting too hot. Because if it gets too hot, it might snap. So I said I wanted to get this done in an hour. We're almost at 50 minutes. I don't think that's going to be possible to get it done in an hour. But maybe I can get it done in an hour and 30 minutes. And again, as I go back to the starting point, oh well. I was gonna say I'm gonna slow down a little bit. The main reason why I want to slow down is because I don't say my pieces here and I cut and I'm going too fast, I'm gonna dent the metal or I'm gonna create like a little divot on the metal. And that just happens because the blade is way too strong. So that much movement and how strong it is just gonna cause me to damage the piece itself more than anything else. So this time, because it is annoying going down the other way, I'm gonna start on this side. Even though I don't like it because I can't see that. I can see where I'm going, but I feel like I can see better when it's on the left side. But now you guys get to see more of what I'm cutting. I'm gonna loop this because it sounds rough. So one example, when I get to these sections where there's like a little point, I go to the other side and then I just connect. And that creates a small, basically, section where I can move my blade around and continue cutting. And it's not fully one continuous movement, but somewhat of one continuous movement. There we are. Another section down. It looks pretty good. I forgot to drill this hole here. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm gonna mute for this because it's really loud. All right, there we are. I think I muted. But now we have that hole. As you saw, it was really easy to drill that. And I'm also not feeling any type of divots on this metal, which is very different from copper. Okay, these are the mini versions of literally what I'm doing right now. But if you look in the back, you can see there's little like raised areas. And like if I can't really drag my finger through it because I can drag it on this side because it's flat. But on this side, this is the bottom side. When I'm cutting copper, the copper gets so hot that it starts melting down when I'm cutting it. So that's where all these divots come from, and where a lot of my time goes when it comes to making jewelry is sanding all of that off. But I'm currently touching this bigger piece and I don't feel any type of meltage or divots or anything, which is again very interesting to me because I've never worked with anything but copper before. Oh well, I actually have worked on a different material and I think it was a very similar thing, but I can't remember what it was. There we are. Now we're gonna cut this very big section here. And then we get to the more complicated part, which are the letters. And before I actually do all of that, I'm gonna turn my fan on. I don't think you'll be able to hear it, but I'm getting so hot in here. But I am hoping that it doesn't blow all the dust away, because that would be... I don't want all of this aluminum dust to go everywhere. Can you see it over here? You see how much dust there is? So now we're gonna start with this big section. I might have to lube my blade a few times. going on here? I don't know if you can hear it skipping here and there. That usually means that there is the bladed spent somewhere. Or that there's like some type of metal stuck in one of the teeth. That's making it skip like that. You can see how much dust is building up on the side here. As you can see, a lot of the dust is not staying. Like last time, that's because I have my fan going. And I'm not loving it, but it's extremely hot in here. I had to turn it on. Oops, not paying attention. I'm gonna loop this again. Sorry if I'm being really quiet. I'm very enthralled in what I'm doing right now. And there we go. We cut the big section. And the piece is coming along. And I am currently covered in dust. Not loving it. Not loving it. Now we're gonna get to the exciting part, which is the letters. Okay. Even though it's pretty hot with my fan off, I don't like how much dust is flying around with it on. And like I said, this aluminum stuff gets stuck everywhere. All right. So we're gonna cut this, then this small details, and then all of that. And then the outside is gonna be the very last thing. I am hoping that we can get it done in the next 30 minutes. But who knows? So. So there's some areas where I can definitely do a turn. I think this is one of them. Yeah, because it's not necessarily extremely pointy. Like a 25-degree close point. But sometimes I am not able to just keep going like that. I have to make a triangle. There we are. Gonna clean it. And then we're gonna move to these small points here first. Oops, sorry. And then also this point, my entire arm is covered, but it's fine. We're creating small points here. Not things super hard. Then this other one. Once I get closer to the point, I slow down a little bit. The thing that I really like about these blades that I reuse is that I can get really close to the metal, and it sounds really different. Not different. It sounds really weird for me to say that when I am clearly in the metal. But say I miss a spot or something and I need to go back, these blades are strong enough for me to be able to do that without the blade snapping. And usually that's how you tell the difference between a blade that is expensive and one that is cheap. Because usually the cheaper ones won't let you go back and define details like that. All right. So this is going to be the fun part and the more complicated part. So I might be quiet during it, as I've been this whole time. Because it is a lot of curves, a lot of pointy sections that this is where most likely my blade is going to break. Because usually with a lot of curves, there is a lot of tension on the blade. The main thing is that you want to take all of these curves and edges slowly in order to not put a lot of pressure on the blade. I don't know what is going on with that sound. Trying to see if my blade is bent, but I don't see any bends on it. And then again, I'm mainly moving my left, I'm mainly moving the piece, not my arm that is cutting. Now on these pointy edges, I can't make a turn, so I do have to basically make a small triangle. And then I can move my blade in there and proceed. And that's how I do that. moving it because I can feel my hand getting really hot. If you want to know what the hardest thing to metal cut is, I mean, aside from circular things, it's um, it's straight lines. Usually, straight lines feel like they take forever to cut, and they can be very easy to mess up when you're first starting to metal cut. So now, yes, a little bit. We're almost done. And then we're gonna slow down a little bit once I reach the end. There we go. Part of home is done. Gonna clean my space a little bit before we finish up. And then now this is the very last thing that we need to cut. And then we're done. Isn't that exciting? So I don't actually have to put my blade into anything. I just have to close it. And then again, because I like working on my left, I'm gonna start on the left and then work my way down. And the reason I leave something like this to the very end, it's because this section is filled with weak spots. And it is just, I don't know, it's easier to work on it towards the end, in my opinion. Just because if, say, you're cutting in between or something, I feel like it's really easy to bend and damage areas that are this detailed. So I do that. And this is another thing where I have to make a tiny triangle so I can turn my blade. And you will see my fingers get closer to the piece. Just me trying to keep tension. I can't see what I'm putting. Even though there's sometimes clear contrast, there's just so much dust there that I can't see. Okay, so this is actually much, much weaker than I want it to be. So I'm gonna move my all of it to this hole here. I hope it's still visible. Cutting it in an area that has a lot more surface area space or surface area just helps the chances of the material place bending go down because you just have more surface area to put pressure on. Okay. And that fell. Whoops. I'm gonna continue this. Gonna actually lube up my blade a little bit. This outside area is actually a lot more complicated to cut than the inside. Okay. Ooh, it's getting hot. Not in the room, but the metal. This is gonna be a hard one. I'm trying to keep it in the summer. I'm gonna take it slow. Because this can easily bend. There we go. My goodness. All right. Let me zoom you out. Gonna clean my hand. My whole arm, really. Gonna put my saw away for a second because I'm done with it for the meantime. Okay, and then that's it. We got it done in 1 hour and 30, below 1 hour and 30, which is great. So now what I'm gonna do is take off the sticker paper. You can see how much dust this produced over here. That's a lot, but that's okay. So I'm gonna take this and start peeling. And I want to peel it now just so I can show you what it looks like. And I'm so surprised that it's this clean. It means that I don't have to prep it much or anything to put the vinyl on top of it, or if I want to continue to sand it more so it's a little bit more shiny. It means that I can go straight in basically with a fairly decent or finer sandpaper. I want to leave some of this for later. I don't know if it will let me. Yep. But I think I damaged the... No, it's fine. Okay. This is really messy. There's no nice way of doing this because the sticker paper sticks super well to the design or to the aluminum, which is great. Trying to do this quickly because I have to go, but all right. Is this the furthest? Hello, thank you. I'm almost done, or we're done essentially. So this is what it looks like. This is the right side. It needs a little bit cleaning, but again, I still don't know if I want to keep it as aluminum or if I want to put vinyl on top of it. It's so light compared to right now. And then this would be the backing, protective backing. Okay, yep, there you go. I was saying earlier how I felt like it didn't melt on the back, and I was wrong. It did melt. But you can see how much cleaner this side is because of the protective backing. Can you see the melts? No, you can't. But I can feel it. But there we are. That's what we made today. It took an hour and 30 minutes to cut, which is not too bad. And this is the bigger size. And then we have the smaller version right here. So small, big. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining this live stream. It was to test out how easy it would be to cut aluminum, and it proves to be extremely easy. Super lightweight, super affordable material. So I'm very excited to use it for future projects and to sell decor and stuff like that. Yeah, I appreciate can't speak. I appreciate oh my god. I appreciate everybody who joined. But we're done for today. I'll be back some other time, probably next Tuesday, to do more metal cutting. Or I'll try to live stream during the day a little bit more. It is still currently daytime, but I mean during the morning, because that's the only time that I have time. But thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.